to our MLK Day, Happy MLK Day program to everybody. That is, I think, is a great way to start off a day like this with the soulful melodies of Diana Ross. So um, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Before we get started, we'll do this public awareness announcement. Here at the Afrimerican, we are working hard to fight COVID-19 in our communities of color. So before we get started, we'll go with this, and this will at least allow people to come in before we start the program in earnest. So we'll give people a few minutes. Right, thank you.
Hi everybody, I am here to talk to you today about my experience with the coronavirus test. Sometime last week I started feeling sick, like scratchy throat and just really fatigued, and then I had a cough, but it started to get really bad. And after 2 days of feeling like this, I started to panic. I said, oh my God, I hope I don't have COVID-19. So I thought about who I was around, and if anybody was infected, but then how do you know? Because people they don't have any symptoms, they're asymptomatic, so you just don't know who's infected, who's not infected. So I made a couple phone calls to the friends that I was in contact with, and I said, I'm sick. Are you guys sick? Do you have any symptoms? They said no. If you get a test, let us know. My doctor's office, I used our health portal. It's called My Health Online. And when I went on there to make an appointment, I saw that there was a COVID test. So I took the test, and I had many of the symptoms, but not all. And I still felt a little worried, and I was thinking I should probably tell my family that I live with so that they don't then go out and infect somebody. So I told my family that I wasn't feeling well and that I think I should get a COVID test, and they felt that it was best that I quarantine in the basement away from the rest of the family, which it feels bad no matter what. It's the right thing to do, but it just feels bad and feels scary. She took my hands and told me to grip the side of the bed. I was like, oh my God. And then she just shoved this thing up my nose as far as it could possibly go. It's very uncomfortable. It hurt for like 2 seconds. It actually wasn't painful. It's just your reaction is to like just get it out. There's something in your nose. You want to get it out. You want to shake. You want to move. But it literally is like 10 seconds long, and it's fine. I was scared, to be honest. I wondered if it did test positive, how would that affect my friends that I was around? Is everyone I know now gonna die because of me? I felt guilty. There were a lot of emotions, At some point I thought, well, if I do have this, maybe I should write notes and say goodbye to everyone, because, you just don't know. As soon as the doctor saw me, she said, I don't think you have COVID. Based on all the questions and everything, but I'm still going to give you a test. She said, nobody leaves urgent care or the emergency room without a COVID test. I said, okay.
All right. So I hope everybody is being keeping safe this holiday season with all the issues with COVID. This is the new normal. And actually, it's been a part of kind of our messaging here at Afrimerican Culture Initiative. So if you haven't been to one of our events before, we try to make it a little more entertaining, use this Zoom to be a little, to take us through a little journey. Um, so hopefully at the end, we can add to your perspective, and hopefully provide avenues for actionable outcomes. Uh, you know, um, you know. So anyway, my name is Marlon Solomon, and welcome to Dinner with the Doctor. Um, um, a message and his favorite dish. It's a really unique event today. Um, so we'll have our special guest who will be giving us a demonstration later on. Gloria Fernandez of Go-Go Bites and Oldways. She's our resident cultural cuisine instructor. Say hi, Gloria. All right. Gloria? Can you unmute for 1 second and say hi to the people?
Hello, everyone, and welcome, friends and families. It's so good to see you.
So, like I said, for those of us who are not really familiar with our event, I want to say welcome. Happy Martin Luther King Day. This is the first Martin Luther King Day after the George Floyd event. So I think, and well, a lot of events in our country, and a lot of them have to do with this race and social justice. And so this year, we're going to use this, our organization is going to use this platform to kind of set a tone for the year 2021. We thought 2020 was bad. 2021 has started off with, if I must say, has started off with a bang. So my name is Marlon Solomon. I'm the president, founder, CEO, I guess, of the Afrimerican Culture Initiative. We're a Boston-based nonprofit organization with a mission to build cultural bridges in the African diaspora through education, technology, and travel. And today's program is part of our Lives in Me series, which is our African American first series, where we really delve into issues facing African Americans specifically as a member of the greater African diaspora. So today's Dinner with the Doctor, and so today's event is supposed to be like we're actually sitting down having dinner with the doctor, right? And we are, it looks like they have some collard greens going, and they have some mashed potatoes, a little gravy. It looks like Dr. King in this picture looks like he deals with chicken bones kind of like I do, very thoroughly, if I might add. So so we're sitting down. Let's imagine we're sitting down, at the dinner with the doctor, and like the doctor would normally say, he was a Baptist preacher, and they're known to talk for long periods of time. I guess I should have been a Baptist preacher because I too talk for long periods of time. But we're going to listen to some of his, some key passages, some of his work, and then we're going to discuss them. So we have this entertainment value. So I want you to relax, and we want to take you through a little story, and like I said, hopefully we add to your perspective today of what social justice in today's terms really looks like from the words of Martin Luther King. And then just ask you to kind of look at, kind of what we do. And, if you feel that it's something that our community really needs more of, please, support us. We're going to be giving light to a lot of great, talented people in our community like Gloria. And it's only through your support that we're going to get this done. So let's start. Well, okay, before we get started for real. This is a webinar Zoom. So it's not like a normal the normal Zoom. So there's a question and answer section if you look in your panel. So please, if you have any questions throughout the presentation today, please, put them in there. We will have some time to talk, and even most likely, like, this is an hour-and-a-half program. So after the hour and a half, I normally stay on, and people have questions, people like to talk. We'll be doing that. Then feel free to come in and chat. And like I said, keep everything respectful. We do have polls and surveys. Please, if you get, you'll get a poll at the end. A survey, sorry, at the end of the program. Please fill it out, because that's how we are able to show our action, our actionable outcomes, our measurable outcomes. And Hey, find out more about us. Go to Afrimerican1.org. We do African diaspora cultural education consultancy, and as you'll see through the progress of this program, we do independent research in communities of color, social justice project management, and we provide educational content like what you're going to witness today. Yeah, check us out on YouTube. Subscribe. All right, so before we get any further, let me introduce our special guest for today. She's Gloria Fernandez. I just met her not so long ago. She's awesome. And we've really kind of taken a liking to each other. So I hope you'll see more and more. Gilly. Oh, I see your hat. She's looking very okay. I love it. Hey, doing it. So Gloria Fernandez is the CEO of Go-Go Bites, and has been in the cultural nutrition field for about 10 years in Boston. Go-Go Bites provides guided instruction for high nutrient meal preparation using fruits, veggies, healing herbs, and spices. I really like that, healing herbs, because, I always, like, one of the things we want to do this year is, focus not just on, there's cultural nutrition, and we want to put a spotlight on that. So we have our healing herbs now. Everybody's got some remedies from their grandma on how to make sure that ache goes away. And it works every time, like they tell you. So we want to get into that. She teaches you quickly how to prepare plant-based and anti-inflammatory meals, which, funny enough, in these days of COVID, that anti-inflammatory stuff, I think, is really important to keep our community health going. Education is the core of everything she does, and they promote healthy food exploration, and they provide solutions to a healthy, happy living. So thank you, Gloria. Would you like to add to that great resume? This kind of, talk about what we're going to be doing today.
Well, today I did a little bit of a twist on 3 recipes that are in our resource area that we'll send out to the participants. And then on Go-Go Bites, just give me a day or two, I'm going to be uploading extended versions of the recipes, because this will be a quick demonstration just to get you familiar with the site Oldways, who has been very gracious to me and allowed me access to the curriculum to teach, which is exciting for me. So today I have a pecan crusted. It has a bite to it because I have jalapeno. I think it might be jalapeno, whatever this pepper is, and dates. I figured if Dr. King was going to eat around now, maybe he'd be doing chicken breast, yes, or chicken thighs, because I like dark meat. And he might do an oven fry as opposed to a total deep fry. And then, of course, we have mustard and collard greens. And I did a variety of cherry tomatoes. Doctor said they approved. And this is really good. Now here, I took some tubers, some purple potatoes, and I did something new experience for me, because if any of you who have like carb issues, the crunchiness is what gets us going. These are delicious. So that's what we'll be doing today.
Well, I can't wait to get it going. But before we get to her, presentation, right? So we're gonna do so now this is when Mama goes in the kitchen and says, "Y'all get out my way." Y'all get out my way. The kitchen is closed. Y'all don't be in here. People are busy. And so now Dr. King is gathering everybody in the living room. Like, all right, now let me get y'all going with some messages this important MLK Day 2021. Thank you, Gloria, and we'll be back with you in a little bit. So now this is where I get to talk your ears off and try to do my best impression of Dr. King. And I'm not going to sound like him, but I'm going to talk as long as him. So please, like I said, if you have questions, leave them and we'll answer them out afterwards. So yeah, I it's this has been I've been looking forward to this day because when you have an organization and you're heading an organization, the social justice field, you want to be relevant, especially in these days and times. So and in proper African fashion, for those who don't know me, my dad is Nigerian and my mom is African American. She's from Danville, Virginia, down south. So my dual cultural take has allowed me to at least I've developed it, and using our ancestors, because that's one thing we teach us in Africa, to always listen to your elders. So Dr. King would have been 92 years old this year. So happy birthday, sir. Thank you for all your guidance, and we thank you for all your great example in these days of where example and leading by example is so critical. It's good to know that 50 some odd years after his death, we are still here, and we're here celebrating. So we thank God for that. So yeah, he was an American Baptist minister. I mean, he was of course, we know about this. He was assassinated, and after leading a very successful civil rights movement in the 60s. He was most known for his nonviolent approach. And also this is where we want to add to your perspective. Look at his this uprising, and you can see the Mall of Washington, which of course I chose because of the current Mall of Washington is being barricaded like a military war zone. So I thought it would be good to see how it can be. But this was the first like African American rebellion after slavery. And that is the way I think the context that we want to start this year on is to kind of really put things in the historical context, as I think we have a lot going on in our communities now and in America in general that have to do with race. So I think really looking to the past to see what he's saying and kind of working on this context is very important. All right. So we're going to start with the first video. That's right. We have about maybe 20 minutes of video in this whole presentation, and I'll be talking, and then we'll go to Gloria's presentation. But everything is going to move in regards to where the end of where we're going, which is we're trying to get to cultural nutrition, because we think that there's a lot of disparities in our communities that are healthy, that are involved with your health and food, and you are what you eat, and the food is what is the most important thing. I think one of the big social justice issues of our time. How do we clean up our communities of color and ensure that there's healthy food options and the access to healthy food options, but even with systems designed to correct the systemic denial of knowledge, cultural knowledge in regards to food knowledge. What do I mean? I mean that African Americans, as African Americans, do not have many of the cultural recipes that were handed down from ancestor to ancestor until slavery, right? So which means that we cannot cook. I'm half Nigerian. We can't cook the jollof rice, and we don't have the some of the cultural protections that are ingrained in our cultural food. And that cultural food, of course, gives you things like natural vegetables and herbs and spices, and when you're now shifted unnaturally to a processed food based form of eating, then that really needs to be corrected. So now I looked at this footage, and I got this footage really because one, I tried to get things, this is about a little bit more than 5 months before Dr. King passed away. Was assassinated. So this is very close to the end, and it's not very common. And it's called What is Your Life's Blueprint? And he gave it at the Barrett Junior High School in Philadelphia, October 26, 1967. And I thought it was a great speech, one, because it's not popular, and two, because he was talking to children of color in a school, really trying to impact their development.
I want to ask you a question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint? this is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And whenever a building is constructed, you usually have an architect, a blueprint. And that blueprint serves as the pattern, as the guide, as the model for those who are to build the building. And a building is not well erected without a good, sound, and solid blueprint. Now, each of you is in the process of building the structure of your lives. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Now that means that you should not be ashamed of your color. You know, it's very unfortunate that in so many instances, our society has placed a stigma on the Negro's color. And you know, there are some Negroes who are ashamed of themselves. But don't be ashamed of your color. Don't be ashamed of your biological features. Somehow you must be able to say in your own lives and really believe it, I am black but beautiful, and believe it in your heart. And therefore you need not be lured into purchasing cosmetics advertised to make you lighter. Neither do you need to process your hair to make it appear straight. I have good hair, and it is as good as anybody else's hair in the world, and we've got to believe that. Now, in your life's blueprint, be sure that you have that a principle of somebodyness. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have, as a basic principle, the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. Once you discover what it will be, set out to do it, and to do it well. And I say to you, my young friends, that doors are opening to each of you. Doors of opportunity are opening to each of you that were not open to your mothers and to your fathers. And the great challenge facing you is to be ready to enter these doors as they open. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great essayist, said in a lecture back in 1871 that if a man can write a better book or preach a better sermon or make a better mousetrap than his neighbor, even if he builds his house in the woods, the world will make a beaten path to his door. That hadn't always been true, but it will become increasingly true. And so I would urge you to study hard, to burn the midnight oil. I would say to you, don't drop out of school, and I understand all of the sociological reasons why we often drop out of school. But I urge you, in spite of your economic plight, in spite of the situation that you are forced to live so often with intolerable conditions, stay in school. And when you discover what you're going to be in life, set out to do it as if God Almighty called you at this particular moment in history to do it. And just don't set out to do a good Negro job, but do a good job that anybody could do. Don't set out to be just a good Negro doctor, a good Negro lawyer, a good Negro school teacher, a good Negro preacher, a good Negro barber, a beautician, a good Negro skilled laborer. For if you set out to do that, you have already flunked your matriculation exam for entrance into the University of Integration. Set out to do a good job and do that job so well that the living, the dead, or the unborn couldn't do it any better.
So that first message from Dr. King, I liked it, like I said, one, because it was definitely part of, talking to kids. And these are some points, that, you can just read over and kind of think about it. But the most striking part was him trying to talk about this culture of survival, in which he's talking about do things like, be excellent in school, do the best job you can, be proud of yourself. These talk to a more emotional toll of, racism and things and cultural tone that are not being as addressed when it comes to social justice. We're looking at the tangible things, or I guess what we consider to be tangible. But there's one of the things that we do talk about in Afrimerican Culture Initiative is that when we say culture, we're not talking about cultural motif, which is an idea that like you wear the dashiki, you have all the African, stuff in your house, and you're doing all these African things, kind of appropriating of culture. We're talking about culture to survive, which is really the real only culture. People don't just do things in culture just to be doing it. They do it because you have to, it's part of how your people survive. And part of that is cooking, right? And we want to make sure that people understand that we like putting that information back into the community provides a survival tactic to have healthier diets, right? So it all falls back on some of the things he mentioned, youth focus, self-love, being Black and proud, striving for excellence. And also we have to understand the context as being African-American. Like my mom, she's African-American, but when she now she understands African survival culture, and that mixture, and being there's stuff like teaching of recipes and stuff, that's kind of like some of the cultural thing that maybe Dr. King at that time may not have been as aware of, because the cultural competency meeting Africans and the mixing of African cultures in the African diaspora was not as much. The evidence of this I'll point to is Kwanzaa was started in 1966, and we won't go into it, but if you want to learn about Kwanzaa, it's a cultural holiday designed by an African-American, and it is basically about, it recognizes cultural principles, which is, I think, meant to, dictate this culture to survive and put it in a way that African-Americans can understand. So we'll go on to the next video. I'm trying to get through these videos. This one, he talks of the new phase. And like I said, one of the reasons why I definitely chose some of the later interviews of Martin Luther King was because I wanted to get the most recent update of what he was thinking and the things that he was facing.
Was there something hypocritical about the fact that the South existed and the North could point the finger? And then when the Civil Rights Acts were passed in the early 60s, you couldn't point the finger anymore?
Well, there was no doubt about the hypocrisy of large segments of the nation on the whole question of racial equality. I think the best example is that many of the senators from the North and the West, and congressmen generally, who voted for civil rights legislation in 64 and even 65 with the Voting Rights Bill, refused last year to vote for civil rights legislation because it dealt with an issue applicable to the North, the whole housing question. And this, it seems to me, was the greatest expression of the hypocrisy of many of our citizens and many of the senators and congressmen of the North.
But isn't that part of the dilemma now? That people knew that Negroes were being denied what was guaranteed to them by the Constitution, by the fact that they were citizens of this country. Then when they were given those rights, do you feel the white community said, well, we've given them all that we have, now it's up to them?
Well, I think the dilemma is much deeper, and I think one during this period of transition has to be very honest with America. And honesty impels me to admit that America has broad racist elements still alive. Racism is still existing in American society in many areas of the society, North and South. And the other thing is that there has never been a single, solid, determined commitment of large segments of white America on the whole question of racial equality. I think we have to see that vacillation has always existed, ambivalence has always existed, and this to me is the so-called white backlash. It's merely a new name for an old phenomenon. I see the white backlash as a continuation of the same ambivalence and vacillation of white America on the whole question of racial justice that has existed since the founding of our nation. I think the other thing that we must see at this time is that many of the people who supported us in Selma, in Birmingham, were really outraged about the extremist behavior toward Negroes. But they were not at that moment, and they are not now, committed to genuine equality for Negroes. It's much easier to integrate a lunch counter than it is to guarantee an annual income, for instance, to get rid of poverty for Negroes and all poor people. It's much easier to integrate a bus than it is to make genuine integration a reality and quality education a reality in our schools. It's much easier to integrate even a public park than it is to get rid of slums. And I think we are in a new era, a new phase of the struggle, where we have moved from a struggle for decency, which characterized our struggle for 10 or 12 years, to a struggle for genuine equality. And this is where we are getting the resistance, because there was never any intention to go this far. People were reacting to Bull Connor and to Jim Clark rather than acting in good faith for the realization of genuine equality.
Do you think white people in this country, and I'm talking about non-segregationists, people devoid or thinking they're devoid of racism, do you have any idea of what they want the Negro to be in America?
Well, it depends on the level that we are talking here, because I think you have to make a distinction between the people who are genuinely and absolutely committed in the white community on the question of racial equality. And I must confess that I think they're in a very small minority. I think the vast majority of white Americans will go but so far. It's a kind of installment plan for equality, and they are always looking for an excuse to go but so far.
Why are they looking for the excuse? What is it about the Negro? I mean, every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
That's a part of it, and that grows out of something else. You can't thingify anything without depersonalizing that something. If you use something as a means to an end, at that moment you make it a thing and you depersonalize it. The fact is that the Negro was a slave in this country for 244 years. That was a willful thing that was done. The Negro was brought here in chains, treated in very inhuman fashion, and this led to the thingification of the Negro. So he was not looked upon as a person. He was not looked upon as a human being with the same status and worth as other human beings. And the other thing is that human beings cannot continue to do wrong without eventually rationalizing that wrong. So slavery was justified morally, biologically, theoretically, scientifically, everything else. And it seems to me that white America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma, and that can never be overlooked. So I think these things are absolutely necessary. The other thing is that America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps, but it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.
Wow. That's always the most.
Was there something hypocritical about the fact that the South exists?
Yeah, that's always, I always play that anything I do, because it's like the most powerful message to me. I hear that, him explaining very clear terms, a deliberate, very all-encompassing, social justice, racist ideology in America. And I think that especially when he's talking to white America, especially the white America that's down with diversity, I think that somehow over the generations, there's been more of like a generational dilution of the truth, where people are not even understanding what their grandparents put in place or their great grandparents put in place. So some of the systemic racism, it went from segregation to segregation, which was redlining, and then the effects of it today. I remember when I was growing up in the 90s, I remember there was even arguments of whether racism still existed in America. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it now, but when I was growing up, that was actually the thing. Is racism even something? And one of the things that he talks about in that field that's very important is that when you were talking about, decency, as he put it, the first two civil rights laws in 1964 and 1965, the ones that were more popular, those somehow are like, he looked at it like, those, you didn't cost you anything. Now, we're going to get into that a little bit later in the next little video. It's real short, but really this redlining and the systemic segregation is the core of all of the racism that we see, because you have, it's all about location, location, location. I do an actual program on that called Redline. I'm doing one next month, so please sign up and I'll we can go more in depth into that. But the main focus with what he's saying is this there are three Americas. There isn't two Americas. And I think that even is a bit of privilege for even our current well, our going to be current president to say, oh, we're bringing the two Americas together, when there are three Americas. There is a racist America, traditionally in the South. There is a you know, I guess down with diversity, but somehow, you know, lost in a little bit of privilege and, you know, just, you know, disillusionment of how bad the issue is, northern ideology in America. And then there's Black America. And the key, the swing vote is this, I guess the white America that's down with diversity. And we've got to really look into that and see what is it that we are not seeing that we should be seeing. And I'll just leave this part like this, because we're going to, you know, we're talking about the installment plan and that there's going to be a white backlash to even this Black Lives Matter that we're existing now. You can count on it. There's going to be a white backlash, just like what we saw on January 6th, which really is this racist America not willing to go into diversity, and they're going to fight to the end to keep their status quo. And this goes to the message, overall message of today, which is the cost. What is the cost of social justice? Because this installment plan that Dr. King keeps on talking about is really being dictated by the good, I guess, like, you know, the diversity white Americans, right? And they're now seeing that their crazy brother is attacking them. And, you know, if you go into history, this is actually not the first time this happened. That's what the Civil War was. It's the same thing that's happening now. But the good white American really needs to make a choice that, yeah, we're Black, but you've got to really consider us your brother, because right now that is what is needed so we can beat back all these lies. But the three Americas is the key, right? You got to understand that what are we seeing that we have not seen before? This is the key. What are we seeing and what we have not seen before? Now, what I'm going to leave you with, like I said, is think back to this time last year, right? That is pre-pandemic and disparities from COVID-19. Oh, we didn't know. We didn't understand. Even now, the dispersion of the vaccines is affected by redlining because there are not enough pharmacies and grocery stores to keep up with the amount of people that live in these redlined areas, these traditionally redlined areas. So now we can't disperse the vaccine. But guess what? There's a lot of fast food. There's a lot of places to get processed food, but to get healthy things, not that, right? So what is this? So this is kind of where we're going. And the last thing we're going to just list it. Well, just the last minute. He closed out this interview so well, and I just want us to share that, and then we'll start moving on.
The biggest problem now is that we got our gains over the last 12 years at bargain rates, so to speak. Didn't cost the nation anything. In fact, it helped the economic side of the nation to integrate lunch counters and public accommodations. It didn't cost the nation anything to get the right to vote established. And now we are confronting issues that cannot be solved without costing the nation billions of dollars. Now, I think this is where we're getting our greatest resistance. They may put it on many other things, but we can't get rid of slums and poverty without it costing the nation something.
Now, that is where we're going to end with Dr. King today.
The biggest problem now
is this: what is the cost? We're now, okay, we're now in the past, we're now in the present. What do we got to do? What Dr. King was saying was that there's an economic resistance, that he sees that white America wants to work with us insofar it doesn't cost anything. So which that means is that for us to move forward, the white America, the second, the white America that's down with the black America needs to really say that, well, for us to really get our brother up to where they need to be, it's going to cost us something. We're going to have to sacrifice, right? And I don't think we should worry about the other side of America, the racist America, because they're not going to agree to sacrificing. So, that is, we've got to look at it like that, Then since that time, what has really been done for social justice? Remember, a year has passed, George Floyd happened, right? Remember, a year ago from now, George Floyd happened, right? We didn't know that it was like this. Remember, these are other things that white America did not know about the way the world was. Talk about COVID and disparities. Now we're talking about this, George Floyd and the social justice and all. Oh God, racial reckoning. We didn't know. Then we didn't know that we had people that were willing to insurrect and attack the Capitol building with racist symbols, the Confederate flag, Auschwitz, Camp Auschwitz shirts, you name it, every form of white. And we had the president. We're not even going to him and all his leading the whole, inciting the whole thing. So we even have a cultural leader. It's all on social media. They're taking it. It's like now a terrorism war in our own country, which begins the people that have historically been opposed to any sort of diversity and are fighting right now to keep it in. So we need to all work together. Is all the thing. Is all we're saying. So this status quo is going to have a cost. So it's now time for us to reimagine, and so we can cut through all this deception. And this is where now, real briefly, I told in the beginning, we were talking about social justice projects. This is what we're talking about, reimagining what a social justice project is. Quickly, this is actually right here in Boston, Massachusetts, in Hyde Park. There's a Boston Preparatory Charter School on the left, and Burger King, which was just opened this year. On the right, there's a court case. There are people fighting this. It's a real big thing because obviously the kids are there trying to get good food, and they are now being attacked by processed food. Let us not forget the school is also serving processed food more than it should be. So it's like the kids are inundated by both places by processed food, right? And we're trying to get away from that. So that's quick disclaimer. My children go to this school. This is why I'm aware of it. This is why our organization started to do research and development for the past year on a way to remedy and to fix this situation. So we are even working with the school now to provide a cultural cuisine courses and education, and also change their menu in this school to better reflect the cultural diversity of the school. The school is 97% children of color. So it only makes sense that they should have a high amount of cultural food inside being fed to them every day. I mean, these kids need to have some jollof rice in their life. That's what it's all boiling down to. And some of the stuff that Gloria is cooking. But we actually do research here. And this is what we meant by independent research. So we did this little exercise where we looked at fast food of the closest 3 burger restaurants in to the Boston Prep and some other Boston schools, and we found out that literally, so the closest McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's is this first risk factor, and we can see that Boston Prep went from 1.23 miles to 0.9 miles, less than a mile, to get 3 restaurants around them. That's how close it is to get Burger King from the school, or Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's. Now, Jeremiah E. Burke is in a deep red line area. Boston Prep was in a yellow area. So it basically, it's getting closer to red line area, which is, look at this, 9 restaurants in the Jeremiah E. Burke. This is over here in Dorchester. And that school has 1.5 miles for 9 restaurants. That is the closest 3 Burger Kings, McDonald's, and Wendy's. 9 restaurants. Go to Google Maps, average, do the math yourself. Don't take it from me. And you'll find out that is how close these kids are surrounded by fast food, and there are not enough healthy food resources. So, and then we did it also for some traditionally white, blue lined and green line areas. And we saw that the density of fast food, I know this is a little arbitrary, but it is, the correlation is extremely strong that there's 2 to 3 times more fast food in communities of color in Boston than the white areas. So now we're about to, this is just, trying to wrap it all together. We have health disparities in our community. And this is the actual red line map of Boston. And that's the location of where my office is and the school is here in Hyde Park. And this system, there's nothing more systemic than maps. I'm a civil engineer. It's how this is basically how the city was designed. It's like you design your house to have your kitchen and your, near your bedroom and all. Yeah, that's what this is how it's designed. And it's creating health disparities, all based on location, even down to, there are even stats that show that there's a actual change in longevity. Like, people actually live longer if you live in different places of the city and the same city. And it's duplicated all across the United States of America. We have to look at these cultural artifacts and the removal of the cultural artifacts and the recipes, right, as one of the ways we can fight back. If we can provide these schools with, and the parents of these children in these schools with opportunities to even learn from old ways, people like Gloria, and get these recipes, so when you give them healthy fruits and vegetables, people will even know what to do with them. This knowledge is not readily available, and we have to infuse it and push it into our communities, right, to fight some of this like inundation by the systemic, I guess, food industry, right? Right? And if we do that, we're going to teach a culture to survive, not cultural motif. We're actually going to be teaching ourselves, and there's loads of other things, because that's what we do at Afrimerican. There's leadership structures, just knowing your history. There's loads of other financial literacy, because there was a lot of people taken advantage of by predatory lending back in, which was also redline, and that has affected the psychology of the African American community when it comes to getting credit, home ownership. People even running away from it because of, and I compare it to this. Now let this sink in. The fear that some African Americans feel towards the health or the business, all these things, is the same fear that they fear towards taking the vaccine, because there could be racism involved. We've been historically taken aback by it. So we want everybody to understand that provision of processed food is part of social justice. We want you to help us reimagine and support our research and our work. We're going to try to work to get an actual system inside some schools and take data and get measurable outcomes to see how best we can make sure that our children are provided healthier cultural food options, right? So now, without further ado, I know I'm hungry. I don't know about you. Gloria, are you there? Is the food ready? Just when you have to check to see if the food is ready. I didn't talk these poor people to death. Is the food ready?
Well, listen, I'm going to try to prepare the food.
All right, let's see what's going on.
All right, I'm going to do the chicken first, and I have my pan heating up. I'm using a cast iron pan, and what I'm going to use this for is to brown my chicken. What I've added, I'm using a vegan egg, just because I have it in the house, and I did add a half of my spice concoction there. And again, just remind you, and I probably didn't before, I put a little coriander because I really like the flavoring, and simply put it in. And you do your flip. I have the breading here already. Okay. I'm going to add a little oil in here. And turn this fire up. Now that's going to heat up. You're going to turn this 3 minutes each side, put it into a baking sheet like so, and bake for 10 to 15 minutes. I know I don't have a lot of time, so I'm doing real quick, and I'm going to do an extended video for you. All right. Now that's our chicken. You're gonna hear that making a whole lot of noise and racket. And now, oh, I forgot to tell you all my ingredients. I'm sorry. There's the pecans, there's my dates and my chili. I used, again, gluten-free breadcrumbs, and this is my mixture of paprika, salt, coriander, and Parmesan. Oh, goodness. I'm going to try to remember how to pronounce it. Yes. The one with the R in it, but you know, it's this cheese that you grate. All righty. Now, I'm going to move this out the way. And the next thing I'm going to do with you is I'm going to do the grains. So the greens I decided to use is a mix of collards and mustard greens because I think that you need as much greens as possible. You need variety, and they add a nice kick. So we're using those. I'm putting a little bit of oil in the pan because I'm going to be adding my mixture here. I have onions, and I have one garlic clove or so. I have a shallot. It's not in the recipe with Oldways, but I just like a lot of extra in my stuff. So my oil is heating up. I'm gonna put my onions and my shallots in first. Well, this is all the magic of television, right? So I don't have to cook everything all the way through. You all understand. Now here's where I just add a little bit of salt. I always tell folks, use a pinch, not a punch. And measure out just a little bit so you have some idea. But salt added to the onions to me just gives it a nice flavor. I'm gonna flip my chicken. Do you think it's been about 2 minutes? I think so. I'm gonna flip my chicken.
Yes. That looks so good.
Yes. And listen, for my friends and family up there, I'm doing alternate day fasting. So happy this falls on my eating day because I'm gonna put a hurting on this chicken. All right. I've got my onions and my shallots heating up. Now, in this particular case, I'm also going to add a little bit of basil. Why? Because I just think basil does amazing things. Now, one of the things when I do list my recipes, I don't always put, well, I really don't at all. I don't put amounts because sometimes I feel restricted and you just don't know what people have in their homes. You don't want to alienate them. So I just, if you have it, use it. If you don't worry about it. Now I'm going to add my garlic. I've got my heat up a little high. I'm going to turn it down to about medium, but it's still kind of high. My chicken is making all kinds of racket. You hear it? I'm trying to get attention. Let's see how it looks. Yes. So this goes simply on the baking sheet. And bibbidi bam in the oven. Now over here, I have my, oh, look at those tomatoes. Yes. I'd like to thank my son Zamir, who's my videographer today. He's amazing. Some of the videos you may see I've done, that's when the writing is backwards. But he's helping me today to make this look beautiful.
That looks so good. Like, I mean,
Yes.
This is not fair. This is not fair. I'm over here salivating.
I'm gonna add just a teeny bit of salt because that helps the tomatoes get some of that liquid out of them. Now, realistically, tomatoes are better for you cooked, so I like my tomatoes cooked down, but I keep an eye on them because I have the garlic in there. You know, garlic will act funny if you overcook it. It will taste funny and it will scare you. So we don't want to do that. But now here, look at this greens. Yes.
And so what you put in, those are collard greens?
This is collards and mustard greens. Because I
Okay.
believe at 92, you know, Dr. King would be a little more open to
Yeah,
different kinds of greens.
he's gonna lay off on all that chicken and stuff that he was.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
No mac and cheese here, because I don't know
no
what
mac and
you are.
cheese, Dr. King.
I've been seeing Malcolm III. Oh, I just want to help him. He looks a little swole. All right, I'm trying to mix this all together. I don't want to use the tongs that I use on my chicken, so usually that's what I would use.
I can hear him complaining now, like, "Oh, why y'all gonna make me eat all this? You know what I like to eat, girl."
And then
Right.
we have to show him how wonderful it is since he's been eating like this that he's not
Oh
on
no,
high blood
I'd have
pressure.
made it in 92. I'd have made it in 92. Even when I
Right.
I don't know why y'all gonna. All right, I'll go ahead, Gloria. I'll go ahead and do it.
Well, exactly. And this is why I put the heat in it, because we know the heat keeps the circulation going. I'm really trying to monitor the salt because I don't want him to have too many aches and pains.
Got it.
Right. Now, this is what I do here.
Anti-inflammatory stuff, right?
Right, exactly. So I'm going to put the top on this, and I'm going to let this sit for 5 minutes. In the meantime, I am going to get started on my potatoes, on Fontane's potatoes. All right. So, first of all, now the thing about these, for those of you who haven't had them, you crisp them. You don't need a lot of oil, but you're going to crisp up the potatoes on both sides. Then you're going to add some butter. Now I'm using plant-based butter because I figured 2 of the sides can be vegan, okay? Plant-based, healthy, all that kind of goodness. All right. The oil is heating. I'm adding, now what I do with my potatoes in order to lower the glycemic index is I boil them and then I refrigerate them. So I didn't boil these totally soft, but you can get a fork into them.
Isn't that what you say? You said something about the gluten. What was that? Sorry.
The glycemic. Yeah. So if you boil potatoes and then refrigerate them,
yeah,
it changes the starch and the sugar content in them and yeah. So there's more science to it. Whenever I do a class, I usually send out a link to the science.
Yeah.
So here we go. I'm gonna.
No, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Learn something new.
And these are purple potatoes. And Zamir can show you a view of what the potatoes that I'm using right now.
Okay.
And
okay, those are the purple potatoes. Those are what those are.
Yes.
I see them in the store, but I don't get them because I don't know what to use. I don't know what to do.
Oh my gosh, they're delicious. Okay.
All right.
Now I may have overloaded this a little bit, but I think we may be okay. So now what this does is this browns on each side. I'm gonna wipe this off. I'm wiping off my chicken thing, folks, just to let you know. All right. So what you do is you let this sit, move it around a little in the oil, let it get crispy. And in the consideration of time, I appreciate you all being on here. I'm just going to walk you through. You're going for a hard crisp, okay?
Okay.
And then you're going to flip it on the other side. And then what you'll do is I added in my plant-based butter. Now there's recipes that add garlic, and this is about, I'm going to put about a tablespoon and a half. Okay. Whoa.
Hey, Dr. Tina would
Yeah.
appreciate that extra butter.
Yes. Again,
You like that.
Yes, this is plant-based butter.
Okay,
And
okay. So
because
there's
I'm
a
not doing
plant-based.
mac and right, and again, because I'm not doing a mac and cheese on the side, which is kind of traditional Southern fare, you still want to give folks a little something. This potato has a little bit of sweetness to it, and then we have, and I don't want to savory it up too much, so I'm gonna let that butter melt, and then once that cooks down a little bit.
Well, can I send you my address? I'm gonna have to send you my address so you can send me my plate.
So what am I adding here? I'm adding a lot of coriander.
Coriander?
Yes, yes. You know, you know what? I'm sorry. I think what I added in this was, I got my brown spices all mixed up, folks. But okay. I'll have it together. But I think this is my coriander that I put in here.
Got it.
All right. And we let that cook. So you see what's happening to the potato?
Yeah.
So we want this full thing nice and brown and crispy.
Got it.
And then what we do, I use a vegan stock, and I use what's called garden. And it tells you to use like 1 cube to 2.5 cups of water for some recipe. But I'm telling you, if you lick the paper of this thing, don't follow me. But it is delicious. So I don't make it as watery as they suggest because I really like the flavor. So what you would do, my friends, is you would flip these after they get nice and brown. Then you pour this on to about maybe a third.
Yeah.
You have your oven on 425 for the chicken. You got it on 425 for this. You stick this in for about 30 minutes. You might need a little less because I've already boiled them, but if you haven't boiled them, you need to keep it in for about 30 minutes.
Okay, these are boiled, okay.
Right, so only about maybe 15 minutes or so, and they come out like the fabulous stuff that we already did. I'm gonna just check on the greens so you can get a look and see what's happening here. I'm gonna turn off the fire. Yep, and mix those up.
Yeah, that looks good. I know
so
where
what
you
we
live
have in here is shallots, garlic, 3 types of tomatoes. Now I'll tell you there's many times where I just turn the fire off long before, but collard greens need a little bit more of a cook to me.
Yeah,
Unless if you are going to eat them raw, I'm not sure if many of you know, but if you cut it up and massage it with your hands, that helps to break down the collards too.
No, you're right. I think collard greens definitely need to be cooked longer.
Right, but you can't eat them raw. You just have to massage them. Can you all?
I'm gonna cook mine. I'm not gonna massage them. That looks tasty. Okay, I'm opening my mouth. Can you just can we try this Zoom?
Look, I was trying to, Marlon. I was trying to, Marlon. Look, but look at this.
The Zoom, it looks beautiful. Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
And our potatoes are still cooking. So, folks, I'm up here, Zamir. All my recipe suggestions are foundations for you to add whatever you have in your house, whatever flavorings you really enjoy. For me, I love smoked paprika. So that was most definitely in my greens. It wasn't coriander, excuse me. The coriander was in here. But if you like barbecue and you are breaking away from added salted meats in your greens, smoked paprika is going to make you feel alive again. I don't know what else to do or to say to convince you, but it really.
Hey, Gloria, we have a question. We have a question in the chat. They said, why massage from Rosalind. She says, why massage the collards?
If you're going to eat them raw, or even if you want them to cook quickly, massaging them is like when you play in grass, and if you keep playing in it, it gets watery. It breaks down the structure of the greens quicker if you
Okay,
massage
so
them.
it'll be easier to eat, or
Exactly. Yep.
all
So
right,
again,
Rosalind.
this is helpful too. Like again, I've done a journey where I've eaten raw, and I've been able to yeah, you see that?
Mm. Okay, Rosalind says thanks, that she's learning a lot today.
So and the other thing is, I try to stick healthy herbs into just about everything.
Right.
And the main ones I use are ginger. I use cumin. I have some sage and ginger tea here that I'm going to sit down and have. The sage, from what I understand, is supposed to help us young ladies who have hormonal issues. So fortunately, I have that about every day to keep my sanity. And the ginger, yeah, listen, you have to do what you can to
I
keep it
agree.
together, brother. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, sister.
Yes.
Oh my
So it's probably good for men too, but I use the fresh sage leaf.
You know, that's one thing people don't really pay attention to, and I'm glad even we can segue into this, because everybody, please sign up on on Eventbrite and follow us and stuff, because Gloria and I, this is our first cooking demonstration, and I think we're even working out. We had a little bit of camera issues in the beginning, but I think we've sorted that out, and people are getting a great lesson. But we're going to be doing more of these, and I'll be doing less talking, so it'll be more it'll be more Gloria.
You said it, I didn't. You said it, I didn't.
Well, you know, this is a special
warning, but you said no, I can handle it, Gloria.
No, I came in under an hour. So that was the whole point. So we're doing actually good.
Can I give a shout out?
Of course.
Again, I'd like to shout out to my friends and family, my son Jesse, who's watching the other side. There's a young lady who has a business in Boston. I bought this from her on Saturday, and we met up. It's called One Word. And when I saw this, I was like, yes.
Right. I like it.
Yes.
I like it. The swag.
And I also like to send out a shout out to my cousin Shelly. If you like some sweet goods after you eat so good like this, she has Sweet Molasses Bakery. Amazing stuff. Professionally trained. Well, I'm sort of professionally trained too, but I have a little. I have so much hood in me that.
Look, that's you know what they call that, elbow grease. That's the elbow grease you put in them. There you go.
And if Zamir can follow me a little bit, I'm gonna share someone with you. Okay. I'd like to send a shout out to my auntie Sylvia.
Okay.
Who could make spam taste like steak.
Oh,
hey. And inspires me every day. And she was one of those aunties or grandmas that had the picture of Martin Luther King up in the house, along with John F. Kennedy and White Jesus. But
2 out of 3 is.
We didn't know no better then. No,
we love Auntie. Thank you, Auntie. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Gloria. That was so beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you, everyone.
You know what? We actually have. Let's share the screen so we can have those pictures of your finished product. Remember the ones you sent me today, right?
Absolutely.
These are the finished product. I hope everybody can see them, because we had some, the camera issues were a little bit. See, what are we doing? All right. Okay, I think we're good now. All right. So, like, if there are any more question and answers, I mean, even from, look, I mean, I just want to thank Gloria, to be honest. This is our first venture into, doing these presentations. So I thought it was a great opportunity. These are some of the meals that Dr. King would have been grubbing on today. I like I learned a lot. I hope you did. I hope you see that with a a better platform. We're going, this is a work in progress. So as we're working through this whole, process of trying to get food, and people like Gloria with all their knowledge on how to stay healthy through your eating, how can we get this knowledge in front of young people and their parents? So this is what Social Justice Project. So this is we are actually, like I said, working on with a school to do this, and we would love you to support us. If there's no, I want questions. Does anybody want to say something? Because it's not, I know we've been talking a lot. I could unmute you if you want to say something. Please, you can raise your hand, or anybody want to talk? I'm allowing people to say some things. Deetra, welcome. Carla, hi. I don't know, but somebody's phone number. I'm not going to say the phone number out loud because we are recording. If you want to talk, I've basically allowed people to.
Hello there.
Hi, Deetra.
Hi, happy Martin Luther King Day as we celebrate and honor him. And thank you for such a great webinar and a great cooking demonstration, Gloria. I'm so glad to be here to witness all of the great information shared.
Thank you. Thank you. How's everything in at the home base for Martin Luther King? How's everything down south in Atlanta?
Um, I haven't really paid attention today. I know normally around this time they have the celebration at Ebenezer, but I haven't
Okay.
had an opportunity because I've been in meetings all day today.
Okay.
But right now that I know of, everything is quiet at this time.
Well, I'm very happy. For people who don't know, this is Deetra is also affiliated with Oldways, and she will also, when an Afrimerican, will also be working together um, next month to bring forward some more cooking demonstrations. Well, not necessarily a cooking demonstration. We're going to have a very interesting discussion. Very excited about what Deetra is doing and bringing to the community in terms of cultural nutrition. Do you want to give us a little teaser, maybe?
well,
Or
well, we will next month. We will talk about how. Are you guys familiar with Frankie Beverly? We Are One, really showing how through foodways how we are truly connected and how it all began back in the motherland in Africa, and how our cuisines, our different recipes, how it goes back to the motherland. Maybe the recipes may be a little different, but knowing the origin, it's a fun journey, I will say, that we will embark upon next month.
I can't wait. Actually, the idea, she came up with this idea, and I've been so happy to support her. And this is sort of so we're gonna have an army. I can't imagine a year from now having like an army of people teaching our children about how to cook and some of the benefits. And so thank you very much, Deetra, and I can't wait to get
Thank
working with
you.
you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? And who else do we have here? What's Gloria's website? Okay, now everybody, you're gonna get an email tomorrow with a recording of this. This will be on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Afrimerican TV. Please subscribe. And all the resources will be there, including her recipes, information from Afrimerican Culture Initiative, even Uber Eats in your area. We have this document that we're going to send you with a link, right? So all the resources of how to get in contact with Gloria, me, everybody, and a lot of the stuff and videos, even the videos that were shown on this webinar, you're going to get all of that. So well, you'll have access to everything that we presented with today. Now, in closing, we're about to close up. You got about 10 minutes left, but and I will be on afterwards if anybody wants to just talk. Sometimes people don't want to talk on the camera while being recorded. So this Black History Month, like I said, we're an educational service provider, so we have a bunch of, we're starting our online resource called Afrimerican Academy. We have like 200 lectures and classes, like, excuse me, like what we've seen today, and we have it online, and we want to provide these resources in cultural nutrition, financial literacy, cultural competency, African American specific cultural competency, civics, and Black history. So we have a lot of different things that we're offering young student of youth, and we would like you to help us, support us, so we can provide this service free of charge to the children in our communities that need this extra after school program, this extra support. We also want it to be a source for third party affiliation. So let's say somebody wants to provide, I don't know, sports or like cooking classes and things like that. We want to be a resource where we can connect families to education. So please go to our website, www.aframerican1.com, and also .org. That's our organization. Well, and we're launching in Black History Month. We're going to have a bunch. I'm working on at least 10 different webinars for the month, for Black History Month. We're going all out. We're going to be, talking about Afrimerican Academy and how, doing it, and just really trying to get deep into a lot of different issues, from remedies, health, exercise, women issues, African immigrant issues, LGBTQ issues, Afro-Latin issues. Hate, we're bringing it on, and of course, cultural nutrition. Last but not least, we've also received funding recently to really get the word out in communities of color in regards to education awareness on COVID-19. So we're encouraging everybody to do your research and make a decision. Stay fit, exercise, mental health, eat healthy, wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, stay away from indoor crowds. Contact trace. This is another thing that we're adding on to there, because we want everybody to be encouraged to know the infectious period and be aware of who you've been in contact with. So, and that usually starts, the infectious period starts normally 3 days before your symptoms begin. Then also, we're encouraging everybody to get vaccinated. If you don't feel comfortable, I completely understand, with a lot of the racism that is involved with in vaccination in the medical community. I do believe the medical community has failed the African American community, because since even the Tuskegee, experiments, I don't think enough has been done to reintroduce and and prove to African Americans that, look, everything is okay. And now that we need to get a vaccine in there, everybody's scared, and we're like wondering why. So I think that there's a lot of outreach that needs to be done. We are willing to do whatever we can to bridge the gap. But once again, we're not trying to force anybody to do anything. We just want you to do the research. And if you do the research and you know the science, please, we hope that you'll sign up, and let's fight this war, because we don't want our hospitals to fill up. We don't want, if our hospital fill up, we won't be able to go for the normal issues that we have and the premorbidities that we have. Our things like our body mass index, things like that. We need to learn that if it's above 30, we're in a dangerous area. There's a lot of things that we can learn. So we're providing consultancy services for community leaders. If they want to teach their communities, we have the resources. We have some of the infrastructure, webinars. We can provide webinars for your community, things like that. So we're really looking forward to that program. It's really starting off this week coming up. So yeah, if you have anybody that want community leaders that in any of these African diaspora communities, please let us know. We'll love to reach out with some of our community stuff. We have some videos that we're putting up, very nice COVID-19 awareness videos that are being in production now. Go to our website, the resource hub, aframerican1.org/COVID-19, and you can get that information. So last but not least, I just want to thank everybody for real. We are, we're here to help our community. We're working hard. We're doing the research. We're developing projects, actual real projects like the one we're going to be doing in the school to introduce cultural nutrition in an actual school, and take the data and, do all the normal stuff that we do in research and science. So Thank you very much for this lovely, lovely, lovely evening. Come on, Gloria, can you say bye one last time and then we can chat afterwards? I have no issue. Um, thank you, Deetra. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm cooking up the rest of this chicken. My son is already eyeing these two pieces. So
What did you say? I get two pieces. What'd you say?
he's already claimed these two pieces. He
Who
was
claimed the
asking,
two pieces? Samir, come on, man.
he said to me, Mommy, are these done or they just show? I said, they're done. Oh, I'll have those. So we're all
Well,
ready to go.
it don't sound like those are gonna last very long.
No, no, no. I'm getting ready to layer it up right here again for the rest of them.
All right. Well, please, like I said, we have a few more minutes, so please, if I really do like to hear more from people. So if you would like to say anything, please, put something in the chat. I will unmute you, or I'm trying to ask everybody to unmute actually, but and remember, you're going to get your video tomorrow, and your video will have all the resources that were used in this video, in this all right. Well, everybody here is allowed to talk if they want.
Can
Hi,
I be here?
Karen.
Hi. And can you see me? I don't want to be seen because I look terrible.
No. We can't see you. It's all good.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I know Gloria from somewhere else, this book club, and I was just like, I had no idea really what she was doing. I thought she was like cooking for the homeless, even though she's invited me on stuff before. And but yeah, the conversation and linking it into Martin Luther King really made sense to me. I never thought of it as food. And I have an example. I'm not a mother, but I am now renting to a young man who's young enough to be my son. Like he's like 20 and I'm in my early 40s. And the thing is, I noticed he eats only pizza and stuff like that. And I knew his background was foster care and group homes and stuff. I met him through Airbnb, and then he didn't have a place to stay and stuff. And I didn't, and I think it's so true that all the proximity of all these fast food places mess us up. Even as an adult, I moved to Boston, and when I moved here, I wasn't really cooking and stuff like that. And I'll just be honest. I went through a time of bad times, and I started going to the Brookline Food Bank, and they had all these frozen vegetables, and sometimes they give a whole bunch of kale, and I didn't know how to cook them, so I went on YouTube to find out, and I started just to cook with the frozen vegetables and stuff. But I didn't even grow up like that. I'm Jamaican. I grew up not eating fast food, and I think that's how I maintained my weight. And when I came here, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on, and I gained 25 pounds because I would go to Flames, I go to McDonald's. There were all these things.
I do the same thing.
Kids.
Yep.
So I really want to support you guys with changing the whole school lunch program, because now I see the link between the high obesity rate and in Black people, especially Black women that I've been following, that it's like they're teaching us to eat bad, and then it's affecting our energy levels on our brains, and that it's like a spiral.
No, I mean,
Go ahead,
Gloria.
Something real quick. There was a study done a number of years ago with individuals who had been in foster care and who were diagnosed with ADHD and ADD, and they gave them they were supplying their breakfast and lunch at school, and they saw phenomenal results when they were eating plant-based, mostly organic. And if they did have some kind of protein, it was probably very lean, like chicken or fish. But the whole idea, there's a brother by the name of the Minister of Wellness, and he talks about the genocide by food, killing Black and brown people and even poor people. Now, I'm going to talk about Black and brown people because that's me. But there are poor whites who are living in poverty and who are drinking Mountain Dew like it's water. And now their teeth are rotten. And that's why we have the the dentists that go into West Virginia and help these individuals because they don't drink water. So it's really against people who are living in poverty. It's really sad, but there's studies out there that the healthier choices, the cleaner choices, I'm not even going to say healthy, I'm going to say the cleaner that we can get our food into our system is the better for us.
I like that, cleaner, because some of the food is not as necessarily the healthiest. But also another thing I think that is not looked upon is, see, when you think about the whole menu of an African, let's think of like, because I can speak on Nigeria because I'm half Nigerian. Like when you think of the diversity of all the different meals, right? And how many different ways you have to use some of the same, healthy veggies and spinach and this and that and the other. It really just, even if one isn't so as healthy as it should be, but by the time you zoom out and see everything in its totality, it ends up being like a great palate. It just ends up being naturally healthy because obviously the people would not be around to cook the food if their food was unhealthy, because food keeps you alive, right? So I definitely think that it's very important. I want to thank you, Karen, for wanting to support us in the school. One of the key elements to this is we have a lot of African culture in our communities already, whether albeit Jamaican, like you said, you were Jamaican and you grew up with that foundation, and African immigrants, and Haitian food. Like I know Hyde Park got a lot, Mad Farah's, Las Vegas, they got lots of. So all these foods that these kids are eating at home, they're not eating it in the school. And if we can get that accomplished, one, we're now going to be sharing more information. If you hear some of the ideas that the kids are having, because I have kids working on this as well, so it's not just old folks. So kids are saying, oh, they want to see roti from Trinidad and Tobago. They want to see what she said, jollof rice. One of the Nigerian students is telling us. These programs would also now expose, probably for the first time, African American students that don't have some of these cultural artifacts in their community. They are now exposed to it at a young age, where they're impressionable, where they can, oh my God, you have roti? That tastes great. And they're more willing to now learn how to cook it. We're going to provide the recipes and great teachers like Gloria to smack them upside the head if they eating too much pizza. So, I'm very excited about this year, and I hope that we can get more support from the community and help, people on board. We need volunteers, whatever we can get. We're not, beggars can't be choosers. Anybody else, or Karen, want to have anything else to add? That nice points too, Karen.
I had one thing, but if somebody else wants to.
No, go ahead until somebody else talks.
Okay, so I was like, I don't know, I'm bad. My mom would be turning over. She's in her grave, but I stopped cooking. I was working in Manhattan, living in Harlem, and then I moved right across the bridge to Jersey. So I used to work a lot of long hours. And what I noticed, the difference is I was working downtown and Midtown, and there were always food trucks with like $5. I was eating healthy. Now that I think about it, they'd have like a bunch of salad bars. They'd have, it was expensive, but I was making decent money. And they'd have these trucks it seemed like a lot of Mexican people. And they even had a Jamaican food truck that they would have fresh juices for $5.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I noticed the first thing is that there's only one juice place that opened 3 years ago. I've been here 2 years. I heard that, but they're like expensive, $9 and $10 for juice.
Yeah.
And now I know the people that own Essential Body Oils on Blue Hill near the swimming pool school there, and they opened a juice place in Common Square. I haven't been. That's more like $5, but the accessibility of healthy food was around, and it probably was because it was a white area. It was like it served the lawyers and accountants in those big buildings. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the administration, and there wasn't it's lacking here. So you just would go for the soda.
Yeah, of course, of
Or
course.
whatever, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's all across the board. The whole idea of costing and why these foods should not be, I mean, they're paying people not to even, they're paying people not to cook, not to grow food. So I don't understand why the food, by the time it gets out here, that means it's artificially being kept high. If you're paying people, why don't you just put that money in a way? And this is what social justice looks like. You know, like it actually is going to disturb established, you know, that's what they, you know, we're talking about the cost. Is going to actually disturb real issues when it comes to how people are making money today. What about the people making the fries? What about people making all the, you know, the French toast and all the, you know, the products, the burger patties, all this processed food? It's an economic structure. And as we can see, at least the Burger King, the fast food, they're making most of their money from communities of color because there are more restaurants in communities of color. So we're talking about a system that is going to be counter to that. And now this is what white America really has to grapple with. If you really want the, you know, if you really want equality, you cannot do band-aid solutions like the Metco program. Instead for maybe just providing the schools with more money so they can be providing better education, you now provide a busing system that takes people from one side of Boston to the other, not talking about the 2-hour or 3-hour commutes that the kids have to go through and things like that. So I think it's very important that I am Gloria. I think okay. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, I mean, the pricing, how do we get the pricing down? I mean, I don't have the answer to that. That's what some of this research that maybe we need to do. That's why we want people to look at our independent research to say, okay, look, if you want us to find out, we're going to have to do the research. It's not going to be today or tomorrow, but in about a year or so, we've been doing the research currently on cultural nutrition for 1 year, and we've been able to you know, work on solutions, real solutions that we're going to see results by the end of the year. By the end of the year, I'm going to have data on what the first group of kids, you know, thought about cultural cuisine in their school. So, but the costing, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it now. Anybody else? All right. Well, it's a little bit after 2:38. Yeah, exactly. It's 2:38. So we went a little bit above, but I really thank everybody for showing up today. Please email me, info@afrimerican1.org. Go check us out, Afrimerican YouTube. Gloria, can you send a shout out to the Go-Go Bites?
Oh yeah, Go-Go Bites is here. I'd like to thank everyone that is here and supporting. You know who you are, Miss M, Miss C, Miss K, Miss L. Thank you from Atlanta checking in today. That was the beautiful thing.
Yes.
I'm so very grateful for this opportunity, Marlon. Thank you so much. And it's been fun getting to know you. And I'm sorry you won't be able to eat any of this, but me and Zamir will take care of it.
We're going to be doing these in person post-COVID. Trust me. Trust me. This time next year, I'm going to be having some of that chicken. So anyway, yeah, thanks everybody. Make a donation. Go ahead.
Month too, right? Is it the 3rd?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, we're doing one on the 3rd. And then we're doing another one with Smalley about wellness and remedies and just a discussion piece. I haven't figured out that date yet.
Great.
But everybody will get an email when we get it done. So we have everybody's contacts. So yeah. So thank you everybody for coming around. Like I said, support us. If you like what you hear, if you think, if you wanna help us get to some of the solutions in our own communities, hey, make a donation, offer to volunteer, hook us up with whatever. We take whatever we need. Like we could use some hookup on the chicken right about now, but we ain't talking about that right now. So